Lords of the Fallen is released on October 13th, and if you're like me, you want to know the classes that you're going to be able to pick from. So I'm going to quickly cover all 10 of these classes that you get to start off with in Lords of the Fallen. So let's get into it. Now, just like every other From Software game, Lords of the Fallen takes the same idea of there being multiple classes that have a variety of different starting stats. Just to give you an idea of all 10 of these different classes, you have the Blackfeather Ranger, the Condemned, Exiled Stalker, Hallowed Knight, Mournstead Infantry, Orain Preacher, the Partisan, Pyric Cultist, Udirangr Warwolf, and finally the Dark Crusader that you get by purchasing the Deluxe Edition. Now, all of these classes are very different from each other, but think of it as the same way as Elden Ring was. You picked a base character and you kind of focused on one thing, but you could shape your character to be however you want to play it. So you could start as the Hallowed Knight, which is very focused on heavy melee attacks, and get it more towards something like the Pyric Cultist, where you have a mixture of heavy weapon attacks and also a sprinkling of magic in between. It really depends on how you want to play the rest of this game, which I think is really nice. So starting off with the Blackfeather Ranger, he is going to be your best range attacker from the start. They start off with an axe, shield, bow, and 2 different arrow types, usually medium armor as well from what I have read already. You can also take a look at all the different information that I popped up on the screen from different editor notes. Agility is going to be your main focus to help out increase your bow damage, and vitality is always good because it helps out with your health bar. Also, you can read the developer notes if you want to, so you can pause the video whenever. This is one of the classes that I'm thinking of going with because I usually do not go ranged attacks. And on the flip side of the ranged attacks and just a straight up class in general, you have the Condemned class, which is technically the worst class because it's basically like the Wretch and Deprived classes in Elden Ring and the Souls games, because you just start off with regular stats. You don't have a lot of good weapons and armor when you start off. Obviously, you can see a broken bucket, throwing rocks, and light armor. So good luck with this. This is definitely for the more expert players in the Souls-like genre. Now I can see how this could be appealing, so you make a character however you want to from the beginning, but personally not for me. So moving on to the Exiled Stalker, it is an advanced class as well. Think of this more as your rogue in the game. It's very fast, uses a lot of potions, and you can attack a lot in a very short period of time. Apparently it's very hard to be precise with your attacks, so going to take a lot of time to get used to. 2 daggers, throwing knives, poison salts, and medium armor are going to be your best friends, along with agility, endurance to help out with your stamina, and dagger damage. So very much so a hard class to play with, but also probably one of the more fun ones once you know how to use it properly. And if you want to go with a more regular and simple class to go off from the start, you probably want to go with the Hallowed Knight class, because this is your classic sword and shield muscle class, one of the more versatile with fast attacks, good armor, and you can have some magic if you want to spec into that. Essentially, you can make him how you want to as well, but not as bare bones as you would have the Condemned class. Short sword, large shield, grenades, heal over time items, and heavy armor are going to be your best friends. Again, this is going to be one of your very basic classes, so you can make this class however you want to, even if it's kind of a question of how you want to play this game, which I might go into this personally, especially with all the different options we have while entering this game for the first time. Which brings us to the Mournstead Infantry, which is a little different because it focuses on long melee range along with throwing javelins and spears at your opponent from a longer range. It's low damage at the start, but it is noted that you can use these spears and javelins to do a lot more damage. You start with the spear, those javelins I talked about, heal over time items, a small shield, and heavy armor. Really go either way, in either agility or in strength, to have a more effective use of your long range spear or those javelins that I just mentioned. So a very different class, but also a unique one as well, which is somewhat similar to our Preacher class. This is going to be more of your holy man of the entire Lords of the Fallen genre. It's going to have a lower armor protection, but also has a lot more healing items and a very powerful hammer that does a lot of damage. This is going to be more of an advanced class according to the developers, because there's a bunch of different ways you can play this, and you have to play it smartly. You start with a hammer, small shield, radiant catalyst, healing spells, healing items, and small mana stones for all of those healing spells. Focus on vitality and strength, and think of this more as a paladin than just a preacher, which is how I would play this character. But moving on to the Partisan, which is a mix between range and heavy melee attacks, which it gives you a wide range of different ways you can play this, just like a couple of these other classes. You start off with a flail, crossbow, large shield, berries for stamina regeneration, and heavy armor. It is noted that these guys have a great defense, so you could focus on agility, or you could do endurance to keep the fight going, but this class screams to me that it's just a very average class to play. It's very easy one to pick up and go through the game your very first time through, so maybe not a bad choice when we first get this released. But this mage class, the Pyric Cultist, Cultist is anything from average. This is going to be your very focused mage build. It's going to do a lot of fire damage, focusing on fire spells, and also being able to poke your different enemies with the heavy pole arm that you got. Though this class is definitely a stronger later on class, it definitely helps out when you go against enemies in the beginning area with your magic. Now apparently they are resistant to fire, so that's something to keep in mind. You start off with that pole arm, a Rogar Catalyst, Infernal Orb spell, small mana stones, magic, and medium armor. So a very fun class and probably one of the most interesting ones on this list. Which is a great transition into over one of the other classes I'm thinking about is the Udirangr Warwolf. This is your Berserker class. You move fast, you have a very light attack into a heavy attack, basically your big time brawler. You also have ability to light your weapons on fire. You start with a longsword, throwing axe as fire salts, medium armor, and essentially you're just a Viking with a wolf helmet. Focus on strength, of course, as you do a lot of melee damage, and also with your vitality to keep your fights that much longer when you're getting beaten up a ton. Overall, this class looks awesome. I don't know if I'll play it from the start, but definitely do a playthrough at some point with it, because I'm going to focus on this next class in my very first playthrough, which is also the class known as the Dark Crusader, or their poster boy for this actual game. Now, you can only get this by downloading or purchasing the deluxe edition of this game. Now, you start off with a greatsword, heavy armor, rosary catalyst for magic spells. Powerful melee class early in the game, and not a lot going on in terms of range. Strength is going to be your best friend. Endurance and stamina are also great for your carrying capacity and being able to move a lot while you're overly heavy. Radiance as well for better protective spells, which is definitely going to be handy for this class in particular. Thankfully, you can also unlock this particular class by playing through the game and unlocking it later on. You may not be able to do it from the first go around, but you can also do another playthrough with this class if you wanted. But it's clear that all of these classes have something unique about them, which makes it that much more interesting to go through and pick one before you even start playing Lords of the Fallen in the first place. Personally, I'm definitely going with the Dark Crusader because it's the poster boy, and I already pre-ordered the deluxe edition, so why not? That way I can also show you guys in different videos what it's like playing as that particular class. But overall, I hope you guys found this helpful. I know when I went through this, it definitely helped make my decision that much easier for my first playthrough of Lords of the Fallen. So if you guys did enjoy this, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I will catch you on the next video.